Guys, it's Boxing Gossip here, late on a Tuesday night. I look pretty terrible because I am training for a half marathon and I've just gone out on a long run. But then again, you probably don't tune in for the good looks. You go to someone else's channel for that. Anyway, this is the third part of the Getting Off the Fence series. Now, when I started Getting Off the Fence, I didn't intend for it to be a series, and to be honest, now we're on part 3 and I still don't intend for it to be a series, but it's a phrase that has come up several times in the last few weeks. It started with Amir Khan. I did a time to get off the fence on Amir Khan over the Kell Brook fight and Amir Khan and Kell Brook not fighting. You know, I was very critical of Amir Khan. I've had to rescind a lot of those comments given the recent news about Saul Canelo Alvarez. The second part of the Getting Off the Fence series related to George Groves, and I said that his arrogance and his inability to accept accountability for his actions and his results was really damaging his career. The third part of Getting Off the Fence, which I'm filming right here, right now, is going to be on our good friend David Haye. Now, like George Groves, like Amir Khan, I am a big David Haye fan, or at least I have been a big David Haye fan throughout his career. You know, I've been to see David Haye fights. He's one of my favourite boxers. I've enjoyed watching him more than most, and on his recent return against Mark Demori, I've got to be honest and say that my heart was beating for the return of the Haymaker. You know, when the music hit, I was properly pumped for the return of David Haye. You know, he's an excellent addition. But as much as I enjoy David Haye as a personality, and as much as I enjoy David Haye as a fighter, the guy's behaviour consistently puts me off. I mean, look, we know the old ground. I did a video about a month ago called "Why Does David Haye Get So Much Stick and Does He Deserve It?" And, you know, we discussed the whole history of, you know, his toe injury, his pullouts from fights, Manuel Char, Tyson Fury twice. You know, we discussed all of that in great depth. But what I'm talking about more is David Haye's recent comments. Now, I watched an interview with him today on IFL TV. Good interview. Check it out. It's quite a long interview. It's about 25 minutes long. And what is odd, and we're going to get to this in 2 parts. Firstly, we're going to talk about the comments he's made about other fighters. Secondly, we're going to talk about the fact that he's got tickets on sale without an opponent confirmed, or an undercard confirmed. But we'll come to that secondly. Now, in this video with IFL TV, David Haye shows fairly strong knowledge of the heavyweight division. He actually makes very sensible and somewhat eye-opening comments about the sparring partners he's brought in the past. And he actually recommends sparring partners for Joshua to bring in, so Joshua can get tested and experience different styles behind the scenes. And I thought David Haye made some really excellent remarks. You know, he said how he brought Takam in for his sparring with Chisora and how Takam had given him work. He was talking about bringing in guys like Mariusz Wach, Alexander Dimitrenko, you know, tall guys who are durable. Yeah, and these were really sensible suggestions. And David Haye showed he clearly knew heavyweight boxing. And he said at one point in the video, look, I'm an active heavyweight boxer. I follow the sport very closely. Now, what was bizarre is in the same interview, he was asked, have you got any interest in fighting Charles Martin? And he said something to the effect of, I haven't heard of Charles Martin until he won the belt. And in fact, I'd never heard of the guy who he beat. Now, David Haye, having never heard of Charles Martin, is borderline unbelievable. I mean, it shows for a start he doesn't tune into the Boxing Gossip channel, because I've been covering Martin for some time here. But I'll get over that slight. You know, David Haye not knowing Martin is very strange. Very strange. But David Haye not knowing Glazkov is criminal. I mean, Glazkov had beaten Thomas Ademic, hadn't he? Glazkov had beaten Steve Cunningham, hadn't he? Glazkov had drew with Malik Scott, who most people are guessing will be David Haye's next opponent. It's very bizarre. Glazkov was rated highly amongst all the governing bodies. There was talk about him fighting Tyson Fury. There was talk about him fighting Deontay Wilder. I think Boxrec had him 5th, 6th, something like that in their rankings. Yet the guy who has an encyclopedic knowledge of the heavyweight division, the guy who's able to recommend lesser-known sparring partners for Anthony Joshua, claims never to have heard of Vyacheslav Glazkov, or never to have heard of Charles Martin. It all seems very odd to me. And I don't know if this is because David Haye is, looking at a fight with Charles Martin or something like that. I can't work out what the reason is, but it seemed to me to be a blatant lie. I mean, of course he'd heard of Glazkov, and I couldn't work out why he chose to lie. Later on in the interview, he said he'd never heard of Hughie Fury. And when James Helder, who was interviewing him, said, yeah, Hughie Fury's 17-0 related to Tyson, David Haye said, oh, really? Amazing, amazing. It's such a strange that I haven't heard of him. I did hear that Tyson Fury had a cousin, I mean, where has David Haye been? I understand he's been out of the game for 3.5 years, but has he never read a copy of Boxing News? Has he never looked on a boxing website? I mean, let me know, is there anyone watching this video? Is there anyone watching this video who has not heard of Hughie Fury? Is there anyone watching this video who hasn't seen Hughie Fury fight? Let me know. I'd be genuinely fascinated to find out. So what I don't get is, why is David Haye lying? Because the kind of guy who can recommend sparring partners for another heavyweight, the kind of guy who's able to refer to the benefits of having a Dimitrenko or a Takam or a Marius Walk in camp, the guy with that level of knowledge, how can you seriously believe he's never heard of Charles Martin, Glazkov or Hughie Fury? And people say David Haye's a compulsive liar. What I don't get is, these are lies. They're obvious lies, but they're pointless lies. I mean, what does he gain? Is this some sort of call out against Tyson Fury? He made another comment in the video that, Tyson Fury may be the world champion, but Anthony Joshua is the poster boy. Who would you want? Who would you want a poster of in your gym? Fury or Joshua? I mean, maybe he's still got some beef with the Furies, and he's having a go at them by saying he's never heard of Hughie Fury and by saying that Anthony Joshua is the poster boy. I don't know. It just all seemed very, very odd. And for me, as a boxing fan, I just felt that a needless suggested, we'll assume he's lying, or, I just felt it was needless and kind of dislikable, later on, or continuing in the theme of dishonesty, he said that he was going to announce his opponent soon. Obviously, tickets have gone on sale. He said he advised fans to buy the tickets before the opponent was announced, because otherwise they could be gone. Was that really honest, David? When tickets were still available the day before for your first comeback fight? When there are rumours that tickets were given away or sold for a quarter of the price coming up to the fight? And then he said, we've got a fantastic undercard booked. Well, I hope it's nothing to... I hope he's not using last card as an example, because that undercard was a disgrace. And I'll tell you, I'm a big boxing fan, as you guys know, but value for money is something I look for in purchases. And do I want to spend £70, £80 to what's a dreadful undercard, followed by David Haye fighting for 30 seconds? Not for my money, anyway. So he was talking about his undercard, and I started to wonder, is the reason that he's selling his tickets so early for this fight, before he's announced the opponent, because he's self-promoted, he doesn't have the dollar to bring in huge name opponents, guys like Shannon Briggs, guys like Chris Arreola, who are so expensive. So is he trying to flog the tickets before announcing the opponent, because the opponent is going to be so bad it's going to put people off buying tickets? Is that actually a possibility? And it struck me that that is conceivable. That the undercard is going to be so terrible and the opponent is going to be so terrible that he wants to sell the tickets first because people wouldn't buy them if they were fully informed. I mean, that could be a possibility. Another possibility is that he wants to see how the ticket sales do before committing to an opponent, because if he struggles to sell out, or if he sees tickets slowing after the card last time, maybe he's going to bring in a lesser opponent. I mean, I don't know. But what's interesting is that David Haye, the same David Haye who's never heard of Hughie Fury, who's never heard of Charles Martin, who's never heard of Glasgow, somehow had heard of Mark Demore. You know, where did he find Mark Demore? Because, I'll be honest, you guys know I'm a bit biased towards the heavyweight division. It's the division I watch the most of. And I've got to say, my heavyweight knowledge is better than average. You know, I know more heavyweights than the man in the pub, let's put it that way. And I had heard the name Mark Demore. But if I'm completely honest, I'm not sure I'd ever seen Mark Demore fight before it was announced he'd fight David Haye. So what I want to know is, and you get a pass on this if you're Australian, but assuming you're not Australian, who here has heard of Mark Demore but not heard of Hughie Fury? Who here has heard of Mark Demore but not heard of Glasgow? I mean, if it is Malik Scott who David Haye is going to announce, and most people suspect it is going to be Malik Scott. Let me say on that one, Malik Scott's a good fighter. I actually enjoy watching him. I think he's, you know, very, very technical and quite an interesting boxer. But the guy's got zero punch resistance. You know, we saw him get dropped heavily by the likes of Chisora and Tony Thompson, let alone Deontay Wilder in one round. I mean, he's got skills, but he's not got the punch resistance to last with a David Haye. Yeah, if it is Malik Scott, what I want to know is, how has David Haye heard of Malik Scott but not heard of Glasgow? The same Glasgow who drew with Malik Scott. I mean, it's all very weird to me. I don't know why David Haye claimed not to know about these guys. I don't know if he's got some bizarre ulterior motive that I can't possibly understand. And, you know, I've got to say that that is a possibility. When I was having a bit of a pop at Amir Khan for not fighting Kell Brook, I hadn't known that Amir did have an ulterior motive. You know, that he was about to sign a mega fight with Canelo. So maybe David Haye has got an ulterior motive. But a lot of people in boxing think he's a compulsive liar. You know, the toe, the pull-outs, all the injuries, all the excuses. And saying that he's never heard of Hughie Fury, saying that he's never heard of Charles Martin. Why is he doing that? Is it needless? And why hasn't he announced his opponent yet? Why have the tickets gone on sale? Let me know your thoughts. What's the real reason? Will David Haye be announcing that Charles Martin's his opponent in May, and that's why he's made this up? Or will the opponent be so bad that he's trying to sell the tickets first before announcing who the opponent and undercard are? Let me know your thoughts. If you've enjoyed this video, do click the thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. Many thanks for watching.